NSFW window wipers of Reddit. What's the strangest thing you have witnessed while on the job? Not a window cleaner, but a former BMU, building maintenance unit, fitter. As I was testing the lift going down the side of a building in Leeds, I interrupted a peregrine falcon devouring a half-dead pigeon just above the Sears office window. Just started washing windows a few months ago. Not really strange, but freaked me out a bit. I was cleaning at this auto garage in the As Valley, and one of the tow truck operators was lowering a vehicle off his truck whenever securing it broke loose and sent the car rolling backwards towards me. I did not hear it coming because I had headphones and music playing. Luckily for me, I was cleaning next to a support pillar and the vehicle crashed in that and not me. God damn it, I'm late. I can actually contribute. I cleaned windows and pressure washed for almost 4 years in high school and college. The weirdest shit I've seen was in a project housing complex in NJ. We had to go in every apartment and remove screens. We dealt with some hoarders, lots of mentally ill people who didn't like us touching their shit, drug abusers and dealers who just left shit out, extreme stankage, and creepy old ladies trying to seduce us. Ask me and I'll go into detail. I work at a beer company, so every time we see the window washers are working on our building, we stick one of those suction cup beer display things on the inside of the window with some beers in it, along with a sign that says "Come on in for a beer." They always seem to get a kick out of it. I used to do the same building rotation full time in Make. There was this one building that I always cleaned every Tuesday at 3 PM. On the 12th floor corner office, there was this brunette lady in her 30s with her nose stuck in the computer or on the phone every time I showed up. But every time when I got there, she'd pause what she was doing and toy with me. At first it started small. She'd take off her eyeglasses and toy with them between her lips. Twirl her hair. She'd unbutton a couple buttons from her top. She got more and more brazen as time went on, posing provocatively over her desk, lifting up her skirt, etc. Before long, she was taking off her top and mashing her breasts right up against the glass and following me as I cleaned, and I tried not to plummet 12 stories. Then one day, she put up her business card to the window and let me read it. I punched her contact info into my phone and waited about a week before I contacted her. She texted me back her office hash and when to come. So I call in for work that day and go up to her office. I hear a feminine voice calling me that it's open, and I'm gonna stop the story right there. But as you can imagine, I was pretty pleased as I sat on my throne as the Prince of Bel-Air. This is not my story, but one of my friends. His dad works as a window wiper, and he had this appointment to wash a normal villa in a town near my own. Nobody was home at the time because they only washed externally. He went on with his job and went up to the first floor where he washed a window on a pitched roof. I don't know the name of it in English. As he was almost done with this one window, something seemed odd inside. The daughter of the owner had hanged herself in her room. My friend's father didn't come to work for 2 weeks after that. Well, I was caught masturbating with what is known as a strapless strap-on or dildo. You put one end inside you, and the other part sticks out like a dick. So I'm guessing all they saw was a naked woman with a fake dick magically suspended in between her legs. Back in 1999, I was a window washer for a small software company called MetaCortex. It wasn't a great company, and you've probably never even used one of their programs, unless you worked in the government. Anyways, one day I was taking a break at one of the top floors, and left my scaffolding outside one manager's office. I wanted to remind him of good of a job I was doing, so he would look out his clean glass and see my rig. I'm eating a sandwich on the roof, and I hear this muffled sound coming up from the side of the building. I look over the side, and there is a man outside on the ledge, talking on his cell phone. He slowly walks around the side of the building, yelling into his phone, until a passing wind knocks him off balance and causes him to drop it. He starts trying to go around an exterior column and get to my scaffold, but then freaks out and goes back inside. I didn't have a cell phone back then, so I was witnessing this alone on the roof, freaking out. It was my first week on the job, so I didn't know if this was some kind of crazy business initiation or not, like some frat party hazing or something. Turns out, the guy was trying to run from some CIA agents. My friends in maintenance said he was some drugged out hacker. I couldn't tell it from above, but it was the same guy that me and my partner saw get chewed out in that same office just a few minutes earlier. What a weirdo. Anyways, I left that job a few years later to assimilate myself with Smith and attempt to end all human life. Was in the Oriental Pearl Tower in Shanghai on a windy day. Saw the window cleaner scaffolding sway about 20 meters away from the building and crash into it right below me. Was scary. Nobody was hurt. The glass wasn't even damaged, noticeably, but it was scary for those guys, I'm sure. So I was at the top of Burj Khalifa, cleaning the windows. Safety and regulations are pretty chilled over there, Dubai. I was just hanging by a rope and harness. Pretty good pay. In that building, the strange thing is they all watch you to the point you feel like a piece of meat to a bunch of zombies. So fascinated by the heroics of cleaning windows. One of the windows always has heavy curtains covering it. I had never seen in there until this day. There was a bit of a gap and I took a sneaky look inside. It was a harem with some skinny naked prints, usual culprit, with a bunch of hot girls from all over the world. Some naked, some semi, some still clothes and all the traditional harem gear. And then the goat walked in. This doesn't involve washing windows but replacing them. Years ago I lived on the second floor of an apartment building that was undergoing renovations. We received notices that this was taking place and that they were working from 7 AM to 4 PM, but that was the only info given. The renovation projects weren't specified, and I was awakened one morning to two guys outside my double window doing some work. My blinds were open, and I was only covered by a sheet. I was late to work that day because I had to lay there pretending to be asleep until they were done. Compulsory, not a window wiper, but I'm a student of an outdoor degree and as such spend a lot of time at heights with crazy people. In first year in the UK UNIS people tend to stay in halls of residence, essentially blocks of flats gated off so only residents, and they're often banned guests, can get in. It's 2 years back now but me and some fellow outdoor students decided one night to drunkenly climb through a skylight and set up an abseil off the roof into the courtyard in the middle of the U-shaped building. It was only like 40 meters and we had a 60-meter rope and a full climbing rack, so it seemed perfectly feasible. Well, as the four of us abseiled down, we each managed to see 2 bedrooms, where the people inside were balls deep, one guy masturbating at his computer, and one giant party who saw us, sent some envoys into the courtyard to receive us, and invited us up. We retrieved the abseil, partied for an hour or so, then joined our new friends on a night out clubbing. Incredibly, despite the CCTV, the hall's security never mentioned it. I'm not really a window washer, but a custodian at a school. I was asked to wash the windows in a classroom on the second floor, and on this floor you can see the roof of the cafeteria. Then something caught my eyes. I seen 2 geese going at it sexually, then they broke out in a fight. Not really a wild story but strange. I would guess window washers don't see too much crazy shit. When large buildings are being washed, the large cables are very noticeable, and it's usually done during the workday, not after hours. I bet custodial staff have great stories of walking in on things. When I was in college I used to work via a temp agency between semesters, since it was about a month off. Most of the jobs were construction helping type of shit, but for 1 week I was given a custodial job from 8 to 12 at an office building, basically emptying trash and vacuuming the offices of several companies. You rarely saw any people there, since all businesses there kept normal office hours. But one night around 9 PM as I'm making the rounds I opened the door of a corner office without knocking. There were no lights on in the main floor, but I probably still should have knocked. I quickly closed the door as fast as I opened it once I saw co-workers having loud sex on top of the desk. The office must have been soundproofed, because I heard nothing at all until I opened the door. The dude looked up briefly, but I closed the door so quickly that I have no idea what happened after that. I got out of there as quickly as possible and circled back there around midnight after finishing up all the other offices. Posted this before in a similar question. I was window cleaning, but using the pole brush, and at the top window there was a picture of a cat stuck on the underside of the roof. No idea how it got there. There was no possible way to get it out there as the window's lock. Here is the link to the picture. Sorry for the bad quality. I was using a shitty phone. My family lives in Chicago, and we would always forget to read the notices that window washers are cleaning. My mom left the curtains wide open as she walked out of her shower completely 100% naked. After making eye contact with the washer, my mom just froze and screamed as loud as she could, only to have me anxiously run to her bedroom to find her, but naked and completely frozen, staring at a slightly startled, but mostly unfazed window washer. Naturally, I screamed as well. From there we slowly backed into the corners of the room and yanked the drapes closed. I'm not a washer, obviously, but by the way the washer just continued his business so casually after that leads me to believe that my mom's naked body wasn't the most bizarre thing he's seen. When I was a military reservist, my civilian job was window cleaning for a while. So my route for the day included a business I'd never been to before in a seedy part of town. I go to the address, and it's a storefront in a decrepit strip mall, a massage parlor. The storefront window has huge red curtains, so you can't see inside, which is weird, because cleaning them isn't really going to do much, since you can't see through them. So I go in to start the job, and the front door goes to this sort of small cramped entry room with another door. It's locked, so I knock, and a Asian lady peeks out to ask what I want. I tell her I'm there to service the windows, and she unchains the lock and lets me in. There is a front desk and a hallway with lots of doors off of it. So I ask her which door leads to the storefront window. The service was inside and out, and she gently knocks on a door, peeks inside and speaks in some language I don't understand. After a moment she opens the door and lets me into what looks like someone's room. There is a TV going, and a dressers and clothes rack and a couch, upon which is a young Asian woman in a nightgown absently watching TV and barely noticing my existence. Okay, pretty sketch, I think to myself, but I have a job to do, so I make my way to the window and do my thing. It was really awkward, because it was like I was in someone's personal space, not a business, and this woman is just laying there in her nightgown ignoring me. Just weird. Anyway, I finish the window service, get the money and leave. Flash forward a few months, and I'm doing my reserve weekend duty and the first sergeant is going over some briefing items for the unit. One of these items is the updated off-limits list for the area, a list of establishments, usually bars where military have gotten in fights, that service members are barred from patronizing. Lo and behold, my massage parlor is on the list. I proudly exclaim, "Hey, I've been to this place." My first sergeant was not amused. I work at a mental health unit as a SAP cleaner basically. Had to clean a glass sliding door because a morbidly obese female patient had stripped off and smeared herself all over the glass whilst having a vigorous finger bang session. She was screaming, help me, it's got my cunt." Pretty normal day really. It depends on the lighting, if you can see through the windows. One old lady thought I saw her coming out of the shower. I didn't and told her so, but she gave me $20 to heal my trauma. One old dude walked out of the shower with his old man dick swinging right in front of me and gave me this total I don't give a fuck expression with eye contact and started getting dressed. This one lady about 60 years old had touched up professional nude photography of herself wearing costumes hanging all over the bedroom. No tip. At an old grandma's immaculately clean house she had a bedroom for her grandson to visit. It looked like he might be 10 to 13 years old, based on the room. But I'm guessing he was a bit older, based on the large tub of PF Tech cakes sitting on his desk with huge psilocybe cubensis growing out of them ready to harvest. Guessing he told grandma it was a school project. These one people were definitely Mayfair. It wasn't the biggest house, but the interior was fully custom work from carpet to cabinets and chandeliers and everything just decked the fuck out. They had a room full of Christmas presents that looked like an Apple store, a stack of iPads to the ceiling, one for each of her like 20 grandkids. Literally the whole room was full of expensive presents, you couldn't even get a few feet into the room. I've done the windows in far richer people's way bigger mansions, but none of them were as swagged out with accoutrements and valuables, although it was a gated neighborhood inside another gated neighborhood, so the location was probably pretty pricey. She was telling me about all this cool shit that got robbed from them at their warehouse, like ATVs and jet skis and shit. She said her husband, brother, and sons all worked in waste management. No tip. I know for a fact there is way more NSFW and weird shit, but I've blocked it out and only remember the more light-hearted ones. I sometimes have nightmares where I have to work that job again. I was in my apartment on the second floor, which faced out over the edge of a smallish steep bank going directly down to a highway. We had gotten notice that window washers would be coming that day, so I had locked all the windows and drawn the blinds to prevent any awkward scenarios. I started hearing muffled shouting and banging outside my window, but wrote it off as particularly loud/obnoxious workers in the window washing crew. The only problem was that it kept going. I eventually got worried and opened the blinds to see what the commotion was, only to find a terrified window washer hanging at an odd angle and motioning frantically at the window. It turns out something went wrong on the poor guy's harness, and he was not only stuck outside the window, but slowly slipping. Thank goodness I got over my initial skepticism, as a then 19 years old woman whose new husband was at work and checked on him. If I recall correctly, he basically had to cut himself loose. I don't think he came back to finish the rest of the windows until the next day. I sincerely hope he went home and had a beer and a steak and savored life.